Every Sunday dinner for 8 years, my stepfather found a new way to remind the table that I was the family disappointment. Still no real job, huh? Still living off your grandfather's pity? Everyone laughed. My mother stayed quiet. I just kept eating. What none of them knew was that 2 days earlier, I'd signed the final paperwork that made me the sole owner of the company my stepfather had worked at for 12 years. He just didn't know it yet. My name is Caleb. I was 11 when my father died, and 13 when my mother remarried a man named Russell. Russell wasn't cruel in any way you could point to in court. No yelling, no violence. Just a slow, constant pressure that made me feel like a guest in my own house. Russell had 2 kids from his first marriage, my stepbrother Tyler and stepsister Mia. And somehow, every accomplishment they had was a miracle, and every quiet thing I did was invisible. Tyler got a participation trophy, and Russell framed it. I got accepted into a competitive coding program at 15, and Russell asked if it would actually lead to a real job. The one person who never looked at me that way was my grandfather, Walter, my father's father, and the founder of Whitmore Industrial, a precision manufacturing company he'd built from a single rented workshop into a business with 400 employees. While the rest of the family treated me like background noise, my grandfather started inviting me to the office on weekends. At first, it was just sweeping floors and learning machine names. By the time I was 17, I was sitting in on supplier negotiations. By 19, I understood the company's financials better than most of the managers who'd worked there for a decade. Russell knew I went to the office sometimes. He just assumed I was running errands. He had no idea I'd been groomed, quietly and deliberately, for something much bigger. 3 years ago, Russell got a job at Whitmore Industrial. Through a contact of his, not through me, not through my grandfather. He started as a logistics coordinator. Within 2 years, decent performance, and a lot of self-promotion got him promoted to operations manager, a respectable mid-level position, reporting up through 2 layers of management before reaching my grandfather's office. He loved telling people at family dinners about his real job at a real company, always with a pointed glance in my direction, like he was the example I should be following. Some of us actually show up and earn a paycheck, he said one Thanksgiving, swirling wine in his glass. Some of us just float through life waiting for an old man to feel sorry for us. My mother flinched. I just smiled and said nothing. A few months before he got sick, my grandfather called me into his office and closed the door. "Caleb," he said, "I've watched you for 6 years. You understand this company better than half my executive board. I'm not leaving Whitmore to chance, and I'm certainly not leaving it to people who only showed up once they smelled money." He restructured the company's ownership trust that same month, quietly, with his lawyer, with no public announcement. Full controlling ownership, 100%, to me. Not split with my mother, not split with Russell, not a single share to anyone who married into the family after the company was built. He made me promise one thing: don't tell them until I'm gone. Let them show you exactly who they are first. I kept that promise for 8 months. My grandfather passed away in early spring. At the funeral, Russell stood near the casket, explaining to distant relatives how he'd always had a great relationship with my grandfather. A relationship that, in 6 years, consisted of maybe 4 conversations. 2 weeks later, the family lawyer called everyone into his office for the reading of the will. Russell showed up in a suit clearly bought for the occasion, sitting up straight like a man expecting good news. My mother sat beside me, quiet. Tyler and Mia whispered to each other about what Grandpa Walter probably left them, despite barely knowing him. The lawyer opened the folder. The entirety of Whitmore Industrial, 100% ownership, all voting shares, all property holdings associated with the company, has been transferred in full to Caleb Whitmore. The room went silent. Russell's smile didn't move for a full 3 seconds, like his face hadn't caught up with his ears yet. "That has to be a mistake," he said. "I work there. I've put in years there." The lawyer adjusted his glasses. "Mr. Whitmore structured this trust 8 months ago with full legal counsel, specifically to avoid any ambiguity. There's no mistake." Russell looked at me, really looked at me, for what felt like the first time in 8 years. "You're telling me," he said slowly, "that you own the company I work for?" "Yes," I said. "I have for 8 months. I didn't gloat at the lawyer's office. I didn't need to. The real moment came 3 weeks later, on my first official day walking into Whitmore Industrial as the new owner. I'd informed the executive board privately the week before. They already knew. Russell didn't. He was in a Monday operations meeting when I walked in with the CFO and sat at the head of the table. I watched the exact second recognition hit him. The same slow blink he'd had at the lawyer's office, except now surrounded by people who reported to him. "Good morning," I said. "For those who haven't met me yet, I'm Caleb Whitmore. As of this month, I'm the majority owner and acting CEO of this company." Russell's hand holding his coffee cup didn't move for several seconds. After the meeting, he caught me in the hallway. "Caleb, can we talk? Privately?" We stepped into an empty conference room. "Look," he said, his voice already losing its usual edge. "Whatever happened at those family dinners, that was just talk. You know how families are. I never meant—" "You called me worthless in front of my own mother for 8 years, I said. "At every single dinner. You told Tyler he was a miracle for getting a B-, and you told me I'd amount to nothing for building software you didn't understand." He didn't answer. "I'm not firing you," I said. "Your performance reviews are actually solid. But starting today, you report directly to the operations director, who reports to me. If you have a problem working under those terms, that's your decision to make, not mine." He stood there for a long moment, then nodded once, and left the room without another word. Russell still works at Whitmore Industrial today. He keeps his head down. He doesn't make comments at family dinners anymore. In fact, he barely speaks at them at all. My mother apologized to me privately several times for never stepping in sooner. I told her I understood. She was navigating her own situation the best way she knew how. Tyler and Mia, to their credit, reached out and asked to actually get to know me. Not as Russell's stepson, but as someone they'd never bothered to understand before. We're slowly building something there. Slowly. As for me, I run the company my grandfather spent 40 years building. The same company my stepfather once used as proof of how little I'd accomplished. Every quarter, when I sign off on the budget, I think about that one rule my grandfather gave me. Let them show you who they are first. He was right. They did. And then everything changed. If this story got to you, tomorrow's video is even bigger. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it.